because some people just are going to harden their hearts toward the idea of God anyway. So that's kind of a waste of time if they're not going to accept it anyway.
Okay, thank you. Brother Ram?
Well, I'll first off admit to limited knowledge in relationship to the reason why.
Okay.
Because I don't remember any passage where God says, this is the reason why. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But just as Ms. Carson said, I also see it in terms of him letting the people who claim to want to put our wills in a line with his will,
Okay.
participate in taking a stand for that which God takes a stand for.
Okay.
There's a passage in the Quran that I do recall, not exactly word for word, but basically, I'm very confident that it says essentially this: if God had not raised up one set of people to check another set of people,
Okay.
there would have been mosques, synagogues, and churches torn down.
Mm-hmm.
The rest I don't exactly remember, like by corruption spreading on there, something like that.
Okay.
So the whole idea of people being raised up to check people
Okay.
is given in the Quran as some reason. So I can mention that part. Now, I was fascinated by the term dirty work, okay? Because that suggests a value.
Okay.
But also, I think we should understand, since you happen to use the term dirty work,
Okay.
that dirt has good and bad,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
You put enough dirt actually becomes acreage,
Okay.
real estate,
Hmm.
okay?
All right.
Gardening is dirty work.
Okay.
Farming is dirty work,
Mm-hmm.
huh?
Okay.
Yes?
Right. Right. Of course.
Fruitfulness
Mm-hmm.
comes from planting fruits in the dirt.
Mhm.
It's dirty work.
Okay.
So it has a bad connotation on first thought, but then again, there's good in it that we miss.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? A lot of good, hard, honest work
Right.
is dirty work.
Okay.
The plumber has to come home and take a shower.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But he's actually been working to make things better.
Right. Right. I think he was referring to it was symbolic of, I guess, deceitful work, I guess. But I do like that analogy that you
Mhm.
used. Where were we? Okay. Number 3. This is actually a concern I had. I was watching a videotape, and I was reading an article on an 11-year-old girl, and she died because her mother had faith in God instead of giving her daughter medicine. She just needed some treatments of some insulin. I guess it was for her diabetes. And the mother said no. She had been going to church, and she said, no, we're just going to have faith in God. That should be above any man-made medicines and things of that nature. And the 11-year-old girl died. Now, of course, I've heard it. I haven't really read it in the Bible, but people have said to me often, again and again, that God is supposed to protect fools and babies. In the last chapter of Mark, chapter 16, verse 14, it says, those who have extreme faith and believe shall be able to cast out demons, speak in tongues, pick up serpents with their hands, drink deadly poison, lay hands on the sick people, and they will recover. And I don't know if this may be a contradict to this situation right here, because, I mean, it seems like these people had extreme faith and they had good intentions, and they wanted to put God above anything man-made, but the young lady still died. So I'm going to start with you, Sister Amelia. What is your take on that?
It sounds like, and I could be wrong because it's not specific in the article and what you're referring to, because I saw the same article, and it sounds like that they possibly might have been members of the Church of Scientology, because Scientology actually holds that belief that they don't seek modern medicine, they seek faith. However, that is actually against Scripture. In several different areas in the Bible, you have places like Proverbs 1, it says, but even if you lack wisdom, let him ask of God who gives all generously. Well, what they should have been praying is, God, what do we do? Do we turn her over to the doctors who have this wisdom? You know, over and over again in the Bible, God instills this value in wisdom and knowledge. Yes, he does say have faith, but he also instills a value and an importance of knowledge and wisdom, which we see as evidence in medicine. Now, another illustration would be in John 9, I believe it is, where you have this story where Jesus heals a man who has been blind by birth. And there's this confrontation where they ask him, you know, who has sinned? Was it his parents or was it him? Because they believed something like that was the result of sin. But Jesus heals him, but what he does is Jesus spits on the ground and he makes mud pies, so to speak, mud patties, and he puts this mud pack thing on his eyes and then tells him to go wash it off in the pool, and when he does, he comes back and he sees. Now, Jesus being the Son of God, Jesus having already healed many people just by touching them, there was a reason that he gave us the example of using another tool. He could have touched him and healed him by himself, but he used a mud pack, another tool, to heal this individual. So if he used a mud pack and a mud pile where Jesus didn't have to, that's a form and symbolic of using medicine. It's using another way of healing a person. So if Jesus did it and he was God incarnate and he was the Son of God, what makes us think we shouldn't trust the wisdom and knowledge of doctors? So I believe Scientology is completely wrong and completely against Scripture, and that belief, it does sound like that they were Scientologists. I could be wrong, but obviously they haven't read their entire Bible where it talks about the value of wisdom and knowledge.
And I guess that mud pack would be an example of more example of a dirty work of God, huh?
That's a good point.
Okay. I'll get to you just 1 minute. Last question about Mark 16, verse 14, where it talks about casting. If you have true faith, you can cast out demons and get bit by snakes and drink deadly poison. Do you think that is still accurate nowadays, or is there another interpretation of this?
Do you think you can still cast out demons?
Or can you drink deadly poison or get bit by snakes and you won't die?
Well, sure. I know plenty of people who've gotten bitten by snakes and didn't die. Now, sure, I guess you could drink, deadly poison, but so how much you drink? Again, that goes back to wisdom and knowledge, you know, and I think that he was saying if you had faith, sure, you could probably do it. I'm not going to say that if God said it, that you couldn't do it, but again, it goes back to having wisdom and knowledge. It's probably not the smartest thing in the world to do, but if we have the ability to cast out demons, and we have the ability to have seen people bitten by snakes who have survived, then sure, it's common that you would imagine that if he was accurate and truthful on the other two, that the remaining one about the poison would have been true too. But I mean, I'm not going to go out and test it. But you know, God says a whole lot of things that end up becoming true, and I think that it was an example of faith. That's just like he says in the Bible, where if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can speak to this mountain to move, and it'll move. Well, I haven't seen anybody move mountains anytime soon. But when you talk about the concept of mountains, you know, you could be talking about an actual structure, you could be talking about the mountains and obstacles we face in life that do move as a result of faith. But, you know, it's just one of those things that God gives us examples over and over and over of what we can do with faith if our faith is large enough and strong enough. But the problem is most of us don't have the kind of faith it takes to move a mountain, or to get bit by a snake and not die, or to drink poison and not die. We just simply don't have it.
Okay. Thank you. Brother Emmanuel?
Yes. I'm going to take the liberty of attempting